The following is a Papi Chulo Radio original program. The views and opinions expressed in the commentaries and/or interviews in the following program are solely those of the individuals and are not views of Papi Chulo Radio, its parent, affiliate, or subsidiary companies.
Welcome, foolish mortals, to Horror Hotel, a PapiChuloRadio.com original series. Papi Chulo Radio, pop culture on demand. I am your host and hotel owner, Jeffrey Aruz. We're so glad you could check in. We've been dying to have you. Here on Horror Hotel, we are going to explore some of Hollywood's scariest, most frightening, and creepiest films. Please welcome my co-hosts, Night Manager, Legionnaire.
Oh, what an excellent day for an exorcism.
And Banquet Manager, Ramon Marquise.
Well, I hope you guys are ready.
We're not. But before we head on over to the ballroom, let's stop by the front desk, where one of our bellhops has a few special announcements.
Good evening. We thank you for your patronage. Please step all the way in, and make room for everyone. There's no turning back now. I didn't mean to frighten you prematurely. The real chills come later. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/PCR Horror Hotel. Follow Papi Chulo Radio on social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr, Twitter, and YouTube, at Papi Chulo Radio. For more information on Horror Hotel, visit papichuloradio.com/Horror Hotel. Do you have any questions, suggestions, comments, or concerns? Email us via contact@papichuloradio.com. Help support Papi Chulo Radio financially by visiting GoFundMe.com/Papi Chulo Radio. Are you interested in joining the Papi Chulo Radio team as an on-air personality or blog contributor? Email talent@papichuloradio.com. Binge listen to your favorite Papi Chulo Radio programs by visiting papichuloradio.com/archives. You can also download tonight's broadcast and the rest of the series through iTunes. Just search for Papi Chulo Radio's Horror Hotel, and subscribe. Now, grab some popcorn and some snacks. You may step into the ballroom. It's time for your feature presentation.
Thank you. It's time to fire up the film projector in our ballroom so that we can discuss 1973's The Exorcist. Here's the official synopsis of the film. When a girl is possessed by a mysterious entity, her mother seeks the help of two priests to save her daughter. So you all know my question. You don't have to be That's So Raven to guess it. Has anyone ever seen this movie? Let's start off with, Ramon was talking. So Ramon.
Yes, I have seen it a few times.
Legionnaire?
Not this version.
I like it. And I had never seen the movie in its entirety. And I will share my story.
Mm-hmm.
As a kid, like you always hear, it's the scariest movie ever. It's the scariest movie ever. Right. And although I did like scary movies then, as I do now, there was something about this movie that I never really wanted to see it. And one day, when I was a tween, I grew the balls, or maybe my balls dropped, and because it was, puberty time. And so I went and purchased a VHS copy of it, and I started to watch it, because usually around Halloween, I love watching scary movies. So I was watching it, and I got up to the point to where she pees on the floor, and I was like, oh, hell no. And so I remember taking the VHS out, and I'm like, I'm not going to continue watching this because I know this is the start of the madness. And I ended up actually throwing the VHS in the garbage because I was like, fuck this shit. And
Wow.
I know. Well, it was money from my allowance, so, it was my own wasted money. But, and VHSs didn't cost that much back in the day. At least I don't think. I don't remember. But anyway. It wasn't until years later, and by years later, I mean a couple of years ago, that, like, one Saturday as I was cleaning up the guest room, like, I wanted to watch, I was like, let me put something on the television. And I didn't have anything on my DVR that I wanted to watch, and it was one of those very rare, especially nowadays, like, to actually flip through my DirecTV guide and like search for something. Like, I really don't do that. In the age of like on demand and Netflix and Hulu and recorded stuff on your DVR, at least I don't really flip through channels. And so I was flipping through, and on BBC America, of all channels, they had The Exorcist on. And I was like, you know what, let me put this on. I remember like sort of being freaked out about the idea of this movie as a kid. Let me put it on. And it was, because it was on BBC America, so they had commercials, and so I think it was like a 3-hour or at least a 2.5-hour in total type of thing. I think I got there around like the last hour with commercials, and I saw it, and I was like, you know what, this really isn't as bad as I thought it was as a kid. But anyway, so I saw like the last hour, and I was entertained. But yeah, this is the first time, so officially seeing the whole thing. And so we will get into it. So The Exorcist is notorious. I mean, it is like that movie that a lot of people are scared of and are freaked out of, and it traumatized a lot of children, when it came out and it started showing up on TV and whatnot. I want to ask first, before we get into like the cast and everything like that, before seeing the film, like, were you sort of, was there at all any type of, like, oh my gosh, excitement to it because of the notoriety that this film has, before seeing it the very first time?
Well, for me, when I first saw it, I was very young. And so I didn't really know that much about exorcism, so I didn't really know what it was. So for me,
you never were involved in one?
You tried it.
No, I don't know. I'm asking.
I grew up in more of a Christian household, so I didn't really watch a lot. I wasn't allowed to watch a lot of different types of movies. So when I first came across this movie, for me it wasn't excitement. It was more kind of curiosity. Like, what is this about? What is an actual exorcism? So that's how my mentality was when I first went into watching it.
Okay, Legionnaire, what about you?
I was very young when this movie came out, and I saw it. I saw it actually, interestingly enough, I saw it at a drive-in.
Ooh, I love the drive-in.
Yeah.
Because anybody can come up to your car and murder you.
What's that?
Because anybody can come up to your car and murder you.
But yeah, I mean, I'd had no clue going in what to expect, of course, and had nightmares for quite some time after viewing it, and had watched it again as I was older, and still got some of those same nightmares. So yeah.
Well, there you go. How can I ask? You don't have to say the exact age, but were you like a teen, a later teen, a tween, Legionnaire, when you saw it at the drive-in?
When I saw it at the drive-in, I was probably somewhere in the vicinity of 9 or 10.
Oh, okay. Good grief. Legionnaire started young with the horror.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah, well, I mean, y'all know sort of like my opinion of it, because I knew about it, and I knew that it was supposed to be like the scariest movie of all time. And I had seen clips of it in like horror documentaries and that kind of stuff, like usually, around Halloween back in the day, like, they would air like these kind of movies all the time. So you would see the trailers or the commercials, like The Exorcist will be playing, just in time for the Halloween season and that kind of thing.
Yes.
But yeah, so it's definitely notorious for being creepy. So upon rewatching it, were any of you sort of surprised at sort of like the how like intricately they introduced all of the characters and set everything up before like really like anything crazy started happening? Because, I mean, there were, like, little things that happened here and there, like the noises and, the fireplace turning on and that kind of stuff. But it really took a while for, like, the actual sort of, like, spooky stuff to start happening, at least in my opinion. What did you all think?
I thought there was definitely a lot of setup, before things actually started going left. I mean, we opened up with stuff going on with Father Marin and all of that with the archaeological dig. And then, we had all of this stuff happening with Chris McNeil, seeing, getting a sense of who she is and what her life is and all that stuff. So, yeah, I mean, it was a lot of setup, but it wasn't, it was still, for me, it was still very interesting. Mm-hmm. Because it's like knowing that things were gonna go really, really wrong. It was just interesting to see how ordinary everything was before the shit hit the fan.
And I think I gravitated towards the movie more now than when I was a lot younger seeing it, because I noticed certain things now. So the setup, it made me really appreciate and enjoy the movie a lot more.
Yeah, I can agree with that. If you strip down the movie, like, if you remove, like, all the supernatural elements, it's a really interesting, like, character study.
Mm-hmm.
The characters are very well developed, and the early part of the movie really helped with that. Because I think some horror movies, there's, like, nowadays, there's usually, like, maybe 10 minutes of setup, and then, things start going crazy. And this film really took its time to, introduce all of the characters, all of these characters that at some point in the movie will unite in trying to save Regan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, let's talk about our cast. I mean, I think we've got to mention her first. Linda Blair as Regan.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, this was the movie that blessed her and kind of cursed her.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was still around that time where people were, I guess, typecasting everybody. And
right.
Unlike nowadays, where it seems like, anybody can star in anything. And, people with our attention spans, they just move on. And it's okay to see them as somebody else, except for maybe soap opera stars. I feel like daytime soap opera stars still might have that problem. But Linda Blair is always going to be Regan, and unfortunately for her, fortunately and unfortunately, because I'm sure she still gets those convention fees and that kind of stuff, but unfortunately because, I mean, she didn't really do much else, to be quite honest. And, of course, Max von Sydow as Father Marin, and Ellen Burstyn, who's still kicking ass in movies, as Chris McNeil, and, Jason Miller plays Father Karras, but is anyone else familiar with his work?
I'm not.
No, nothing major from him. I mean, that was the main thing that I had seen him in.
Okay. I think everyone was really well cast in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I bought it. Like, everyone really sold who they were playing.
Yeah, I would say.
Especially Linda Blair for being so young and having to take on such an adult role.
So true.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the stuff that she needed to do for that movie was like, wow.
Right. And to pull it off at such a young age.
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, everything from the language to some of the actions that she had to simulate doing and all that kind of stuff. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
girl, you know, you're going to have nightmares about this shit.
Right.
So, I mean, this is a movie that everyone knows. Like, whether you've seen it or not, I feel like everyone has been exposed to The Exorcist, whether it's seeing some sort of parody of it or some sort of interpretation that a TV show might have around Halloween of it, or the music. Like, everyone has been exposed to this at some point in their life, which is pretty impressive, I'd say.
Yeah, I would say.
Let's discuss the music of the film, because the music certainly set the tone.
Hmm.
Like the theme,
Ah, yes.
the infamous theme that, I mean, nowadays we'll get a dubstep remix, but,
There we go.
without the
Yeah.
dubstep, I mean, it is a very creepy tune.
Hmm.
And it's
That's
I'd say it's instantly recognizable as like the Psycho music, music from the
Right.
film Psycho.
Yeah, yeah, the tubular bells.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's like that weird sort of synth sound that I think always sounds creepy.
Yeah.
If there's anything that like 80s horror movies like got right, was like all that weird synth music that just, I mean, it sounds unsettling.
Hmm.
Well, Exorcist
That's
was in the
true.
70s, but that sort of led into the 80s and films during that time.
It was good. Yeah, it's definitely become an iconic piece of music. Even though I'm sure the the composer was not had no intention of it being used in such a manner.
Yeah, that's true. So, let's discuss Regan and like how she ended up becoming possessed, because it was almost like a mixture of different factors. Like it had to deal with like the artifact, but like also the Ouija board scene.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
It was almost like just this horrible combination of stuff that
Right.
led to Regan getting possessed.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Let's discuss her possession. I thought Linda Blair did an excellent job with the possession. Like, I know that we sort of discussed
yeah.
it a little bit, but like going from like how she was before the possession and then like afterwards, like, it was like night and day. Like she really took that role seriously. Like, I don't know how you research that or even study that, but like she did a very convincing job of acting like someone who would be possessed by a demonic force.
Yeah, and then like when she first gets possessed, it was kind of as the movie progressed, it's kind of like it intensified a little. It kind of intensified, and then to the point where she's in the bed and just her reactions, whether it was to the when he would throw the holy oil on her or whatever. It's just her. It was a variety of reactions that her being possessed kind of exhibited, and I thought that was really cool. It wasn't like the same response throughout the movie. She showed diversity.
Yeah, there was like a progression in it, because like in the beginning, I mean, you could have just taken it as her being like an obstinate kid.
Right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like, oh, stop getting lippy and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. Because initially, I mean, when they started charting a lot of her behavior, you can easily see how it was just dismissed as, she's heading into her teens and she's going through some stuff, around, not necessarily being able to, have the kind of relationship with her father that she would like. So all those things could come into play, and it's like, oh, okay, she's just acting out. But then it just crosses that line, and it's like, oh, okay, this is something else.
Yeah. The film has had an incredible legacy. I mean, there have been several sequels. There was also the television series. Have you two seen any of the other sequels or even the most recent TV series that will actually be airing a second season soon?
I've never seen the TV show, but I know I have seen a lot of the different Exorcist movies.
Yeah, I've seen the first sequel, but I haven't seen anything beyond that, and I haven't seen the series at all.
Okay. I haven't seen any of the sequels, but I have seen the series, which, for anyone out there that might be curious, it does serve as a continuation of the Exorcist story.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, it was really interesting what they did. I enjoyed what I saw with the series. It's only 10 episodes, I think, so it's a quick binge for those out there that might be curious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because isn't it getting a second season?
Yes, it was renewed. The second season,
Okay.
they're doing sort of like an anthology type of thing. They're keeping the same priests, but it's like a new family with a new demonic possession struggle, I guess.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Let's discuss the makeup, because as the film progressed, much like her demeanor and her possession intensified, like the physical reaction to the possession was like really impressive in my opinion. Like they jacked up her face big time with this damn possession.
Yeah.
Yeah, they damn sure have looking like a demon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it looked like the demon was rotting her from the inside out.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was horrific. Doesn't even begin to cover it.
I agree. I thought the visual effects were really good.
Mm-hmm.
Like nothing looked fake.
Cheesy, right?
Nothing looked cheesy.
No
nothing looked fake. Like even like the levitation, the I mean, what we sort of like lovingly nowadays refer to as like the split pea soup, like the blood, obviously the makeup and whatnot, but like everything looked really real, which I found incredibly impressive.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, because nowadays, with a lot of CGI, I mean, it makes some films look incredibly cheesy, and with some simple practical effects, like they managed to make this girl, like even by today's standards, float in the air, and it looked incredibly real. Even like the simple thing is like the bed shaking.
Yeah, exactly. Something that's been
I love that.
simple. Yeah, I mean, it was all horrifying.
Right, and very believable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked it. I love when she she looks at the picture frame and like it just falls down, like it's simple effects like that, and just simple acting, like an evil glare, and you just sold the whole damn scene.
Or like when the priest sat down and then the drawer opened. And
yes.
It was like,
right.
Did you do that? Yeah.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Let's talk about the voice.
Creepy as hell. And there was multiple voices inside of her.
Yes.
So when they're throwing the holy oil or when they're reading whatever scriptures or whatever, it was just so many different voices. And then some would be angry, some would be, it was it was crazy.
Yeah, and just I think the added creep factor was to hear, for the most part, it sounded like an older man, like coming out of this little girl. Like, good grief, it was incredible to see, especially since, like, I mean, this is the 70s, and on occasion, what do you call it? Like, dubbing and looping, you can sort of tell, and it kind of takes you out of it. I mean, no offense to some singers nowadays, but I mean, there's some people that really don't know how to lip sync. And so, I guess, it's a lost art for some people. But Linda Blair did like a really great job with it, because I don't think, in my opinion, there was a moment where I was like, that voice is not coming out of this little girl.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the demon voice wasn't her.
No, correct. That's what I'm saying. The dubbing,
Okay.
and she did a really good job with that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because it made it
that
seem
was-
as if all those voices were coming from her.
Yeah.
Because it was, man.
It was crazy. Let me ask both of you, is there like a moment that's like a standout moment for all of you? Like, what's, in your opinion, the most memorable moment of the film? Like the moment where you're like, I'm looking forward to this scene when I rewatch it.
For me, it was when she's in the bed and her face looking all horrible, and when the
And her
the
face looking
priest
all
goes,
horrible.
the priest goes to, try to talk to her and kind of engage her, and she throws up that green stuff. For some reason, I feel like that's so disgusting, but I love the moment, and it was just like, that's one of my favorite scenes. Like, I look forward to that one. But I'm like, here she go with this bullshit, this throwing up again. And then what I liked is that if you see the rest of the movie, that throw up is somebody got on her, and it's still right there at the top on the collar. I don't know. I just like that.
For me, it was in the beginning when she's first confronted and she I think she smacks her mother or knocks back one of the doctors, and it's like, the sow is mine, and it's like, and that voice that comes out, it's like, oh my God, okay, here we go. I knew then that it was gonna get bad.
Yeah. And then another one that stuck to me is when they're having that house party, and she come down there and she piss on the floor.
Yeah.
And she just
The pee on the floor. That was the scene that got me as a kid.
Yeah, she just stood, and I'm looking at her like, oh yeah, this stuff is really crazy.
You're gonna die up there.
Yeah. And that's when I took the VHS out. But because I knew shit was gonna go crazy, and it does.
Right. That's
true. Like I think all of the scenes where she's talking to either Marin or Karis, like when when like the demon is like, like let the girl die, let the girl die, or when the demon was like, your mother's here, would you like to leave a message? I was like,
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, when she really started those scenes where she was really trying to screw with Father Karras.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And all this, the sexual stuff was very disturbing.
Yeah, I can't. It's hard for me to even address that. That's just, that was rough.
Yeah, all of it.
I never get through that without flinching.
Yeah, I agree. Like everything. Damn, Linda Blair. Like, what the fuck are they having you do?
Right. And as a young, impressionable Catholic altar boy, watching her
with the cross.
That cross, I was like, oh my God, yeah, that was real. That was truly the stuff of my 10-year-old nightmares.
Mm.
What about you, Ramon? Coming from a Christian household.
For me, I guess whenever I saw that part, I don't know. At a young age, I was definitely shocked. Just from just the language, because a lot of stuff I couldn't watch. But as I got older, for some reason, those moments I laughed. Those moments made me laugh.
Gosh.
As an adult.
As an adult, not as a kid.
No. As an adult, yeah. As a kid, I was just shocked because it was rare that I would hear such language. But as an adult, oh yeah, that stuff would tickle me. I would just be tickled pink.
That's too much.
All right.
I will say, Scary Movie did an awesome job parodying this.
Yeah, they did.
I think it was Scary Movie 2, if I'm not mistaken.
Gotcha.
Right?
I think it was. Yeah, I believe it was the second one. I can't remember.
Yeah, with Cedric the Entertainer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was funny. I think one of my favorite moments, and it's kind of like one of the infamous moments, is like when her head spins.
Mm. Oh
like,
my God, yeah.
That shit, number one, look real as fuck. And number two, this is a stupid question, but I always wondered, like, after she's possessed, wouldn't her neck be broken? Or something, like, shouldn't she have some sort of after effect from that? Because that's
You
not
would think
normal.
so.
That's when, like, real life, just comes over me.
Yeah, you would think her neck's been around 360 degrees with
Would have did her
would
in.
have, right, would have some lasting effect, but hey, it's demonic possession.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What did you all think of like the visual representation of the demon? Because, like, throughout the movie we would get like flashes of his face. I'll be honest, I didn't really find him that creepy, but his actions were creepy. But I mean, he kind of looked like deranged mime.
It creeped me out only because as I got older, before I actually saw the movie as an adult, I read the book, so I knew that so then I knew that the demon was Pazuzu and all that other kind of stuff, and so that added to the creepiness for me. Although it probably would have been different had I not read the book, I probably would not have been as freaked out or creeped out by it.
Yeah. What about you, Ramon?
I agree with him. It definitely gave him the same effect. I definitely agree with that.
Okay. Well, 2 out of 3 isn't that bad, I guess. Yeah, I wasn't, but I mean, he was creepy when he was possessing her, but I just like the little flashes, because like he was out on the street, and then all of a sudden we saw the flash of the face, and I'm like, no. I did though like, and especially because it's it's the late 70s. I loved when, and I believe it was right after her head spun, like they had like that composite shot of like her with his face like in her,
kind of like a split kind of thing. Yeah,
I thought that was like really neat, and more so because of like the effect and how good it looked for 1976.
Absolutely.
Yeah, in Hollywood, listen, you can do a whole bunch of stuff with some really simple effects and make it look real.
That's true.
But then again, sometimes you might use real looking stuff, and then you might end up with the creeping terror. But let's talk about the climax of the movie. So Marin dies, and now you've got Karis, and like Karis has been the demon, Pazuzu's like basically like whipping post throughout the entire movie. Like Pazuzu either ain't got time for Karis or has time for Karis, and that's why he's fucking with them. And Karis has been basically the apprentice in a sense. He's the priest that is inexperienced, and Marin is sort of like the priest that has the experience that's supposed to exorcise this young girl. But now it's up to Karis, and at one point, Karis, gets the demon to pop out of Regan, and Karis ends up like sacrificing himself to save Regan. And like I guess there's a moment at the very start of the possession, where one, especially if they're conscious to the fact that they are getting possessed, can like regain their I don't know, you would call it like your own personality before you get fully possessed by a demon. And he ends up sacrificing himself by throwing himself out of a window and basically killing himself before the demon can either, force him to harm Regan or jump back into Regan, basically.
Right.
That's true.
And I feel like this is the type of trope that I guess started in this film and like maybe has continued on in other demonic possession movies, because we've seen this a lot, I feel. Like there's always some sort of self-sacrifice at the end to like get the demon out. And I thought it was kind of neat to see what I believe could have been like the first time we ever saw something like this on film. I thought it was a really strong moment for Karras, especially since, Karras is like the priest that doubt himself. I don't think he really thought that he would be able to do it. And finally, he sort of stepped up and he saved the day.
Right. Yep, he did. He was, he found some inner strength in his faith in order to, in order to be heroic and offer himself up, freely and willingly, and yet still have the wherewithal to fight against a total possession that would, cause him to, harm Regan.
Right.
So that he could make that sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the film, Regan is back to normal, and it appears as if she doesn't remember anything that happened. But there is that moment with Father Dyer. And Father Dyer is the person that ended up, giving Karras his last rites and whatnot. And we had seen Father Dyer earlier in the movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And what did you think that scene meant? Do you feel like there's a part of her that remembers some of it? Do you think she remembered anything? Do you think she didn't remember anything?
I mean, when you think about a lot of the exorcism type of movies and just the overall process of an exorcism, I do believe that in the midst of her being possessed, that she doesn't remember what occurred. For me, I do believe that she don't remember.
Okay. Legionnaire, when you were exorcised, do you remember what happened?
I rememred everything.
I knew it.
But no, I think that subliminally she focused on the collar, because subliminally she knew who saved her. I think on some level she understood, or at least was able to remember that it was it was a man, a priest that helped her or saved her. So I think that kind of led to that scene. So even though she didn't remember all the details of what happened, I think there's still a piece of her that understood that somehow she was saved by a man in a cloth.
I like that. I agree with that. I can dig that. So, any final thoughts on The Exorcist?
Great movie. Classic.
I agree. I definitely enjoyed it.
Yeah, there have been actually several releases of the original film. There's like the original theatrical edition. There have been some special editions. Like the one that we saw was the extended edition, which included some additional scenes, in particular some a little bit longer intro with like that introduces a little bit more of the story a little bit more, and I liked it.
Yeah, I was definitely as I watched it, I was like, oh, okay, this is not the movie I saw originally. So the things that were added were definitely welcome additions.
Oh yeah,
I agree. So let's check in and see if The Exorcist has won any awards. And spoiler alert, it has. So it was nominated for several Oscars in 1974. Some of the nominations included Best Picture, Best Actress in a Leading Role for Ellen Burstyn, Best Actor in a Supporting Role, Jason Miller, Best Actress in a Supporting Role, Linda Blair, Best Director, William Friedkin, Best Cinematography, Best Art Direction, Set Decoration, Best Film Editing, and it has 2 wins for Best Writing, Screenplay based on material from another medium, and Best Sound. In the 1974 Golden Globes, it was nominated for Most Promising Newcomer Female, Linda Blair, Best Actress in a Motion Picture Drama, Ellen Burstyn, Best Supporting Actor Motion Picture, Max von Sydow, and it won Best Motion Picture Drama, Best Supporting Actress Motion Picture, Linda Blair, Best Screenplay Motion Picture, and Best Director Motion Picture. And over across the pond in 1975, it was nominated for a BAFTA for Best Soundtrack. And in recent years, it was nominated for a bunch of Saturn Awards for DVD collections and whatnot. And going back in time, it was nominated, or I should say it won, a Golden Scroll at the Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror Films in 1975 for Best Horror Film, Best Writer, Best Makeup, Best Special Effects. In 2010, it became a part of the National Film Registry. The National Film Preservation Board inducted it in. So, yeah. Several awards for The Exorcist. And over on Rotten Tomatoes, The Exorcist is certified fresh 86% on the fresh meter.
All right.
Nice.
Yes.
I'm here for that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But I know we can't compare to the Oscars, but I feel like we're kind of Oscars-ish. So let's hand out our own awards. And, let's start off with the scariest moment.
Scariest.
I guess maybe when both priests was in there and they was trying to do that exorcism and the bed is shaking and done, it done lit about the grind, just all that chaos is going on.
I can co-sign that.
Yeah, definitely the actual exorcism when the whole room just starts going crazy.
Right.
Yeah, I'll co-sign with that. That was creepy as fuck. What about the moment that made you gag?
Her throwing out that green crap. Or was she pissed on the floor?
It was that, and when Sharon took Father Karras to her room and helped me with Scarfight into her stomach. That that freaked me out.
Yeah, I agree with both. What about the most shocking moment?
Oh, that would be with her with the cross.
The cross,
that
yeah.
The most, yeah, that was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was a lot.
Yeah.
What was the read of the night?
Baby, I like when Mama was cussing all that vulgar language, talking about some take dicks up the ass and sucking the all that crap she was saying.
Yeah. When she was trying to get the doctor to explain her, it's like, okay, she's cursing. What is she saying? And then
that was funny.
And he broke it down, and she was just like, and all she can do is just she just chuckled like, what? It's like, yeah, girl, you should have took that a little more seriously at the time.
For real.
Who is the Queen of Shade? I nominate Pazuzu.
Okay.
That's a good one.
That definitely works.
Who is the Diva?
The Diva.
I kind of want to give it to the Mama.
Yeah.
Then Ingenue, Regan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the little Regan.
The biggest douche, Pazuzu.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now it's time to rank the film in our special horror hotel categories. We got the Screamer for a film filled with scares, the Gutbuster for a film that is grotesque, the Eye Popper for a film that is visually impressive, the Gravedigger for a film lacking scares, and the Mind Blower for overall best in show. Legionnaire, you can start.
This one definitely gets a screamer and a mind blower for me. There are definitely still scenes in that movie that are disturbing and scary, especially as even as a fallen Catholic, it still gives me the willies.
Oh my. We'll pick you up.
All right.
Ramon, what about you?
For me, I think it was a classic. We talked earlier about how some of the simple things really had a huge effect on it. The disgusting but effective makeup for her possessed face. I would definitely give it a mind blower and an eye popper.
And let me interject one more thing real quickly. Can we talk briefly about Max von Sydow's makeup? Because in the movie he was supposed to be 74, but he was actually only 44 years old when he took that role. So that makeup was on point.
Oh, that's interesting.
Making him look like an old man.
I didn't realize that. That's crazy.
That's interesting because I've only really seen movies of his like in present day, so he kind of looked the same to me. But
oh goodness,
I love Needful Things. That's that was one of my favorite movies as a 18, and like he was in Needful Things, and I mean he looks like damn near the same in The Exorcist as he does in Needful Things. So I really didn't pick up on that. But that's fascinating. They did the damn deal with his makeup to age him up. All right, so I am going to give it, I mean, it's obvious, a mind blower, overall best in show. I will give it a gut buster because some of that stuff is gross. Like, even if it is fake, it just looks very convincing. And from the cross scene, the crucifix scene, that was gross, to the split piece soup, to her spinning her head around, to the very end when, as I mentioned earlier, it looked like the demon was rotting her from the inside out and her face was all jacked up and whatnot. I have to give it a gutbuster. And I'm going to give it a screamer, although there were certain elements that, I mean, was very creepy, like now, watching it, for me at least, for the first time fully. But I wasn't really that fully scared watching it as I was like as a kid. So, sort of like for nostalgia reasons, at least for me, I'm going to give it a screamer. Because I do remember not being able to get through this movie because I was like, oh, hell no. Oh, hell no. So now it's time to rate the film. On a hotel room key scale from 1 to 10, the point system is allowed. And let's start off with Ramon.
Well, for all the reasons that I gave it, gut buster, mind blower, I love the quality of it. I love the storyline. I love the acting. I love everything about the movie. Like I said, I've seen it multiple times, and I've enjoyed it each time. I definitely think it's one of those movies that stands the test of time within the horror genre. So for me, I'm going to give it 10 keys.
Legionnaire, what about you?
Oh, yeah, this one's easy for me. 10 keys. Definitely scared the crap out of me as a kid. So it's definitely a nostalgia factor for me, and it definitely holds up.
I will continue the trend and give it 10 hotel room keys as well. For all the reasons both of you said, I mean, it's a classic. I mean, and I was going to make that point as well, Legionary. Like, it holds up. Like, for it being a film in the 1970s, like, to this day, what would that be? That's like what's my math? It's like 40 years later?
More than
Yeah.
40, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good grief. It still holds up, and it's still
Yeah.
creepy. And as, we all mentioned, the effects are really good, and the acting is fantastic. I mean, this is almost like the perfect horror movie.
Mm.
It's a film
Definitely
that's
very, very
timeless.
good.
I mean, even though, obviously, like, fashions and whatnot, and even the homes, it looks like the 1970s. But, like, strip that down, and if you look at just the story and the characters, this story could have been told anytime, any
Yeah.
place. Yeah. I'm glad that they haven't tried to really remake this, because I don't think you could get any better than this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So on that note, please drag your bodies away from the ballroom and prepare to check out. Join us next time for a brand new installment of Horror Hotel. Once again, here's one of our bellhops with a few special announcements.
Good evening. We thank you for your patronage. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/PCR Horror Hotel. Follow Panpichulo Radio on social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr, Twitter, and YouTube, at Panpichulo Radio. For more information on Horror Hotel, visit panpichuloradio.com/Horror Hotel. Do you have any questions, suggestions, comments, or concerns? Email us via contact@panpichuloradio.com. Help support Panpichulo Radio financially by visiting gofundme.com/panpichuloradio. Are you interested in joining the Panpichulo Radio team as an on-air personality or blog contributor? Email talent@panpichuloradio.com. Binge listen to your favorite Panpichulo Radio programs by visiting panpichuloradio.com/archives. You can also download tonight's broadcast and the rest of the series through iTunes. Just search for Panpichulo Radio's Horror Hotel, and subscribe. We hope you've brought your death certificate. Make final arrangements now.
Thank you. My fellow Horror Hotel team, please wish our hotel guests and the listeners a good night.
All right. Good night, listeners.
Take care. I enjoyed it. Stay away from the demons.
Thanks for tuning in. You may have checked into the Horror Hotel, but who says you're allowed to check out? Good night.